All right, guys. Welcome. We're doing our broadcast for our lesson taught for resources, and we're gonna go around and share our experience with our lesson taught. So, Barry, take it away.
All right. Well, down the hallway from me, a teacher has a Chrome cart, and I was able to borrow the Chromebooks from her. And there are 34 of them in this cart, which worked well because I have a class of 35, but it's in sixth period. Five of these people are athletes, so I had some people left over, some carts or some computers left over. I do have to say that even my struggling students, the one comment that rang out to me after this whole lesson, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but the one lesson that came out to me from a gal that wasn't doing super in my class was, "Hey, Mr. Tokunaga, I get this." And I thought that rang really true. So what I did is I went to the University of Utah site, and they've got a genetics site there. And I created eight eight questions. And what they did is, as they went through this interactive kind of a lesson on RNA and DNA transcription, um, they were able to look at the interactive. It wasn't a video; it was more like a stop slideshow. Click on things, review it, and then answer these questions. It was totally self-driven, and it was really cool. And I needed to take a picture of it because I want to put that on one of my projects, but I didn't. And their heads were down in the computer, and they were just engaged. And I'm not sure if that was because it was the first time, just totally different from what I do, but they were engaged. It was amazing to see. It's everything that Jose and Christina that we've ever read about, using computers in the classroom. They were just totally on it. My second thing was, after they went to this site on the University of Utah. It's called Learn Genetics. If you have some sites, people, you want to reference that too. It's really cool, Jose. The second one was from my haiku page, and on the haiku page, um, you can embed tests and quizzes. And so I wrote up a quiz on the haiku. The kids logged in, and there were a couple that were, one of the problems is a couple of kids had never gone into their haiku sites, so I had to reset their passwords, and that kind of got pretty crazy. But they took this quiz, a set of two quizzes, and the great thing is it corrects it. It corrects it, and you can set it up so it can take either the high score or the average score on the rubric. I let them take it 2 times. I set a timer on it, um, and everybody but two people, they didn't have their passwords set up, and it was getting kind of late, and I had to get the computers back. Took this quiz, so I got a really good response from that. So on both things, a really good response. What can be improved? Probably my classroom organization of getting the computers back. I was really panicked at the end because I didn't do a final check of the computers before the bell rang and they walked out, and so I was just praying that all 34 computers were there, you know. Um, and So yeah, the two resources were the website from University of Utah, Learn Genetics, and my haiku page where I created a quiz. And I thought, man, this is pretty neat. It was my first foray using computers in the classroom ever, so that
Yeah.
was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Hope I hit everything.
Okay, well, I'll go next. I did two lessons, 2 different days. The first one I tried was explain everything. So what that is we got iPads recently, and I just got an Apple TV to go with the iPad. And explain everything is an app on the iPad, and it allows you to write, and it records your voice and you. So I think this would be great for like a flipped classroom if I recorded myself and myself writing, and then put it into Google Classroom or whatever site I'm using, and then they could access it from home. But what I did, because I'd never used it before, was I tried it out in class. So I did angles. We were covering angles, and I did the notes on the iPad. I recorded my voice. It did take a while because I've never done it before, so it took me a couple hours to figure it all out. And then I tried it out the next day. So they came in. We had Chromebook carts for this activity. I was able to get one of the carts that day, and they had headphones on and they just listened. They took notes at their own pace. So two things that happened. One, I had downloaded it to my Google Drive and shared it to Google Classroom, and it didn't work the way I wanted it to. It was in my third period, and it took 20 minutes for the videos to all download. It was ridiculous. I felt so bad for them. They were so great. They were patient, but it wasn't working. So during that period, I decided to download my video to Vimeo, and I attached the link to the Vimeo to Google Classroom. So then my fourth period, all they did was click the link, and it took them to the website, and that was a lot easier. Um, and then some of the reactions I received from my students were they liked it because they were able to go at their own pace. So a lot of them paused, and then there's some really fast students, so they were able to just keep going, write it down, be done when they were done, and start their classwork. And then the other students that needed more time, really, they took the whole period. They went slow, they replayed it. So this is where I can see Flip Classroom and how it could work, because it does give them the flexibility to move on their own pace. The second resource I used is Nearpod. And I know I talked about this in a different lesson or a different thing that we did. And I tried this twice. The first time I didn't really like it, and the second time I really liked it. So the first time I used a homework. So I created my own Nearpod, and there's a homework and a live session. The homework they all did in class, and they could move at their own pace. So they were all moving at their own pace, and it was a quiz, but I didn't like how it recorded the answers to their quiz. It was really hard for me to grade, so I wouldn't do that again. But yesterday I actually tried it as a live session, and so what that means is I click through it as they are reading it. So I click the next slide, and they'll read the slide or draw on the slide and do all of that. It was fun. The reactions from that was they liked it. They thought it was exciting that they took a quiz and then the answers popped up on the screen and they could see their scores right away. And they also liked that there was a drawing feature, so they were able to label it and draw on this picture, which they've never done before. So they really enjoyed the live pace session where I kind of controlled how it went. So it was a really neat resource, and there's a lot of cool different tricks you can do. You can draw on it, you can have them label, you can have them do a virtual field trip. So there's a lot.
Cool. Ooh, I think we lost Barry.
And
Yeah,
hopefully he can jump back on.
I hope so. I don't know. Should I wait for him or
Uh,
we'll give him another
yeah,
30 seconds?
we'll
Let's see.
probably send a message in a moment.
Okay. Is it okay if I start and then we can send him the link and he can take a look at it, I guess. Okay. So my experience was a little different just because I don't have my own classroom. I ended up having to talk to one of the teachers who was pretty cool about letting me go in there. I know class time is very valuable, so I went in there and oh, there he is. Oh, there you are, Barry. How's it going, man? uh,
Your sound's not working, Barry.
yeah, your sound's not working, Barry, but we can't hear you. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and continue. um, so, so I went in there. A lot of the kids know me just from when I do supervision. So that was a bit of a interesting thing walking into the classroom so I did this on Monday with in one of our teachers' classroom, Miss Robles, her period 4, and I I reverted back to one of the lessons that I did when I was at my old high school. One of the last times I was in the classroom. Um, I did an adaptation of a project that I've done. It was called Stain Graph Window. Um, it technically takes a period or two to do the entire lesson, but I kind of tweaked it so that it'll work out for this process. Um, so the first resource that I did is I started like an Intune task with Poll Everywhere. I created an account, set up 4 questions. 3 of them were math related. The last one I just wanted to have fun with it, just to poll them and get show them some of the features. So I created an account, created the little quiz or assessment. Um, like I said, 3 of them were math questions. The last one was dealing with slope. Some of them were basic just to make sure that they can text. That created a bit of an issue just because not all the students had cell phones, but for the most part they did. And they started texting in their responses, and I was able to visually show them what they did. It's one of the features on Poll Everywhere. They were very receptive to that. A lot of the teachers on campus don't let them use their cell phones too much, which is something I'm kind of hoping to change soon. But they were receptive to that. I want to backtrack a bit. Because it's not my classroom, I took a personal hotspot just to make sure everything would work out so I can use Poll Everywhere and be able to show it. And it worked out for the most part just because our Wi-Fi and our internet network at our school is there's a lot of firewalls and it's very shoddy at times. So I didn't want to take too many chances, but I was able to do that with Poll Everywhere. After that, luckily this teacher has a computer cart. They're Lenovo's, which are small little, I guess they're like netbooks. They're okay. There's a lot of complaints that the students have of them, but they were able to log on because they're used to using them in this classroom. But they take a long time. The load up takes a long time. So I had them do like a small activity, a paper and pencil one. I know it's very low tech, but the Algebra 2 class that I was working with, I apologize. The stain graph window thing is kind of an Algebra 1 project where they're they create their own drawing, then they sketch out the lines and they use linear functions to create a project on their artwork on Desmos, which is the second thing I chose to do. But while we were waiting for the laptops to load up with their usernames, because when they log on with their username and password, it takes a long time. So I had them do a paper pencil activity where they're kind of practicing and making sure I was walking around, making sure they're okay with graphing horizontal, vertical lines and lines with positive and negative slope. So while they were doing that, there was a couple issues with logon. We still have those issues where some of the kids, their username and password wasn't matching up. So we're getting those issues while they were doing that small activity. Once we got them all fired up, I demonstrated using Desmos on my laptop and how you use it to draw straight lines. Curved lines. I showed them a bunch of different functions. And then the one thing that I did want to focus on is less than and greater than and how it shades in and changing the color on Desmos. So I gave them a quick overview of what that looks like. And then I had them go on the site and do it themselves at the end. So I gave them that overview, gave them kind of an insight of what they were going to be doing, kind of front loading what the activity was going to look like. And then they were able to create their drawing with the parameters that it was going to be all linear functions. They sketched out their drawings, sketched it out to the ends, and then they were to match up x equals 2 to make a line, y equals 2 to make a vertical line, and a bunch of different slopes. And then they were going to plug those into Desmos and then do their drawing on the computer. When I did this activity at the last school that I was at, it was block scheduling, so we had a lot of time. Right now we have 52-minute blocks at our school, and I can see, I mean, I knew I wasn't going to get to the end of the activity, and we barely got to the beginning of the graphing. I brought in samples of what the finished product looks like, and I explained to them that, when I did this last, it was a problem-based learning school, so it was a project. We had an art show exhibition kind of audience, and I gave them, they took with them the sheet that they worked on, and I gave them the task of, kind of do this on your own if you want to complete this. I haven't had the chance to follow up. I did see a lot of the kids after, because it was during period 4, during lunch, and the next couple of days, and they all gave me positive feedback that they liked it. They're walking around campus, showing me their phone, like, their cell phone that they got to use. So it was very positive, but kids love using technology. They just, some of the complaints, some of the kids that didn't get it, that didn't have, weren't able to log in or fire up all the way. You can see the frustration. But it's something that we deal with all the time. Is just technology kind of backfires on us at times. But I think it was a positive lesson. It made me miss the classroom, honestly. So it was really, really cool.
How did the teacher respond?
The teacher was cool. I have a pretty good working relationship with her. She's mentioned to me that she does similar activities, not exactly with Desmos, but she was cool about it. She hadn't seen the exact stained graph window project, but she's done similar things.
Did you use the devices in the classroom?
I'm sorry?
Did you let them have devices in the classroom?
You broke up on the last question.
Did she let them bring their own devices?
So right now, because of the Wi-Fi restrictions and everything like that, the policy for the whole school in general is kind of don't really bring your own devices. But she did mention, I front loaded it with her. If she can give them a heads up, like, hey, we're gonna use the cell phone, so if it, just making sure it's okay. But the big question right now on campus is kind of, I had a conversation with one of the other staff members. I was like, hey, let's try to move in this direction. She's like, well, we want to make sure that it's not, like, if we're going to come up with a policy, it needs to be a standard policy, and you give the teachers the choice of whether they want to use it as a teaching tool, cool, and if not, then they choose not to. But if you create a policy that people are not adhering to, then it kind of creates a message of, like, dissension, that, like, yeah, we know these rules are out there, but we're going to ignore it now. So it brought up an interesting conversation with a couple staff members that I've been having about filling out the whole change in bring your own device kind of a thing. And I mean, I think we're headed in the right direction. I had a meeting on Tuesday with a gentleman that's going to help bring some professional development to the school. We'll see how it goes. I still have to write up all the paperwork to try to get them on board, but I think we're heading in the right direction.
Great. Barry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, Barry, we can't hear you. Yeah. So I don't know.
Barry, that happened to me too. I logged out and logged back in, and the second time it just worked. No.
I don't know. I think we're good on the assignment piece. I don't know.
Yeah.
No, we can't hear you, Barry. All right.
Okay.
All right, I'm gonna stop the broadcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said delete. So you